Hi, welcome to Albuquerque's Iconic Businesses, presented by Moji Cinema. My name is Stacy Sacco. I'm the director of the UNM Small Business Institute, as well as I've taught some aspect of entrepreneurial studies at UNM Anderson School of Management for the past 20 years. Help lots of local businesses get started. So very excited today to speak with Dale and Oni from TLC today about their best business practices and how they got started, how they are growing the business. So we're going to show their origins film first up, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about their challenges and opportunities and maybe some lessons learned along the way. Thank you for joining us.
I got into the plumbing industry because I started into college and I needed a little bit of income and had really no interest in learning plumbing or anything, but it was a way that I could pay my way through school. And as I was growing as an individual and the company I was working for was growing, what I didn't like is making commitments to customers, and then the owner came in and looped around and changed my commitments for me, and that kind of was hard for me because I think people should honor their commitments, and that's what drove me to start my own business. I thought if I'm gonna not do what I say, it's gonna be my fault. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Basically, I had a pickup truck, a handful of tools, and a shovel, and I actually had a pretty decent attitude, but it was a leap of faith, and I actually had no backup plan, and that was probably an advantage. I didn't have much of a savings account, so I had to make it work. As the company started to get off and running, I started taking very good care of the customers, and so then the customers told other people, and then it started getting busier and busier, and so it didn't take long before there was more work than I could do by myself. So a few months into it, I had to hire a journeyman plumber, and then I had to hire him a helper eventually, and the customer base grew, and we just slowly built it up from there. When you talk about starting a business and the challenges, there's always something that you don't know. And as you're growing, you learn to develop people. And if I found a good person, then I might hire somebody that I really didn't have a job for, but we would go out and find the work to keep them busy. And so I took a little bit of risk there, and I just started taking really good care of the people because I know how much I can do by myself. And with a team, we could do a lot. So I just started supporting the team, and I would just pick the people that shared the same values as I did. So as the company grew, it was important to find a foundation that we could all stand on. So we all occupied the same basic philosophies. So we set some core values: honesty, hard work, respect, consistency, and compassion. And probably the biggest game changer was in 1999. We were talking about how hard it was to find really good people. We had to take our core values and go find people that we considered to be the top 5%. So we took on this top 5% philosophy that if there's 100 people, we only want the top 5. And what happens is as we invest in people, they actually invest back into us, and they go out and they represent us well. And they not only represent us at work, but they go and do things in the community. Not one of those have we asked to do that. They're doing that on their own, but they're doing that based on foundational things tied to our core values. And that was a huge game changer for TLC, and it really set the stage for where we are today. We're pretty diverse at TLC, and so we do several different areas of work, but we believe that it's the people side of it that makes a difference. So we do a lot of teachings connected to life skills, and that whole process just kind of allows an atmosphere where people feel comfortable. So I just love it when I see that happening because it's just a continued growth path for a lot of individuals.
What's unique about TLC is they do a tremendous job in having high qualified technicians. I just view it as part of the culture. People are very pleasant, very honest. In distribution, you're seeing that customer almost every day. It's like a friendship, it's a relationship, it's a family member, and our people really notice the difference.
TLC is a company that has the utmost respect for its employees. They look out for them. They really have a professional manner in how they conduct business, getting the right people for the right job at the right time, and taking the roadblocks out. We have every tool that we need to get our job done. With all the respect from my peers, my coworkers, I love coming to work every single day. Everybody's got a happy, smiling face, and I say it's my other family.
It's a blessing. It is being afforded the opportunity to take care of those as if they were your family. We're a pretty large company at this point, but we don't feel that way. It feels like a mom and pop. Well, each of our employees have that same latitude to just take care of what's in front of you. And being able to do that and take care of that customer as if it were family. And I think that's what's fulfilling for them, and that's what keeps it going in the cycle, is they get to feel that warm, fuzzy, and some days even emotional feeling that brings in just being able to help people. The ownership allows us to do that on an individual basis.
My favorite job at TLC is watching people grow. But the thing that's really nice is that we're providing a service that not everybody provides. And if we can provide that service on an elevated service mentality so that the experience is good, then I think we're outperforming the market. And I use this service company to help try to make a positive impact on people's lives. When I think of back when I was 22 years old, and then I think of today, we have had the opportunity to impact a lot of people positively, and I've been able to grow right with it. And when I think about, well, where am I headed or what am I doing? I actually feel like I'm just getting started. So that's the fun part. I got a lot to look forward to.
Welcome back. As I said before, we've got Dale and Oni from TLC today to tell us a little bit about their business. So the first thing I wanted to ask you gentlemen about is, how old is the business again, and your titles at the company? You're owner, right?
Yeah, so I started TLC. I'm
Right.
Dale Armstrong, and I started TLC. Me and my wife did 33 years ago, 1987. So I guess it's 34 years ago now.
Wow.
So-
Well, we were talking earlier there. I made did a study of who are the oldest businesses on the planet. The oldest business is in Japan. It was construction, by the way. And it was in like 500 AD, and they're still around. There's quite a few businesses that are older than over 1,000 years old. So I always love to ask about, so what do you think was the reason for your growth and is why you're still in business this many years and growing? That's exciting news.
Probably one of the best reasons was I still don't have a backup plan.
Oh,
So I still got to make things happen. But no, I would say it was, so I was in the survival business for quite a while. And then when I realized that the more that I focused on people and helped other people be successful, that would help the company grow, and we could take better care of the customers. And so that is really what allowed things to happen.
so as far as your market, it's interesting you're in Albuquerque because we're still part of this growth here. Got a lot of new businesses coming here, a lot of people still coming here. In fact, I just saw something from the mayor the other day that we had more people coming than leaving this last year, which is good news. So that means there's going to be a lot of construction around that. But I didn't realize till I looked at your website, I've always thought of you as TLC Plumbing, because I think that was the original name or somewhere in
Yep.
there. But you do a whole range of things. Can you talk a little bit about some of the services you guys provide?
For sure. So, as Dale mentioned, started the company with the plumbing mindset. That quickly grew into construction. Today, those two major entities are our revenue generators. In the service world, we do residential, industrial, and commercial. And on the construction side, everything from municipalities to state entities to, we'll tear up the concrete in your driveway and replace it if you need it.
Right. So the other thing that was interesting when I looked at your website, and I've heard so much about you folks from other people. You come with this great reputation about follow up. You show up. You take care of the business. A lot of companies I know will say we're going to be there and then they never come. Well, you guys, you show up. And I noticed on your website you talk a lot about the quality of your service. So where does that come from? Was it, I know when you said you started, I'm sure that was part of your vision of what you wanted to create, and probably was a competitive difference for you too. So
yeah, it's I mean, so Oni knows this. We know that the first phone call really isn't that hard to get. It's what you do that allows that second phone call to come, and that's providing service and value to the customer, because really we're not self-employed. We're working for our coworkers and we're working for our customers, and that's how everything comes together, is by getting that to all sync up, and for everybody to build themselves around having the same vision and the same values that they present.
So that's
to
an
the
interesting
customer.
story, because when I looked at your website, you have it sounds like you had quite a few different jobs that were open right now, journeymen, etc. And I thought that's probably because you've got some projects going on. So, but that would sort of change over time. You've got to hire a whole bunch of folks, but you've got a strong emphasis on value added. So the way I saw that was, well, you're not just hiring for skills, you're also hiring for attitude. So how do you make that distinction? Is that through the interview process, and then, or is it you hire people and then train them to do the rest of everything else they need to do?
So we hire for core values and train the skills.
Okay.
So is what we do, and we do it through the interview process. We make sure that everybody goes through 3 different interviews, and one person will stay constant through that, but you get to see if the same person shows up each time. And that allows us to see what kind of values they live their life in.
Well, I noticed too you had apprenticeships. I thought, well, what a great way to get to them to see you. You get to know them, them to know you. So do you have apprenticeships in the office too, or is it more, because I work a lot with my students with internships, not apprenticeships is the term we use.
So a little bit in the office. We're limited because, I mean, the office doesn't... it knows whether or not we can pay our bills, but it's the guys out in the field that actually pay the bills.
Right.
So we're limited opportunities in the office. We do have opportunities, but we never run out of opportunity in the field.
Oh, it always looked like you guys got a lot of growth going on. That was very exciting. So.
Yeah, it's continued to grow since day one.
That's fantastic.
I feel pretty blessed.
So do you mostly work in the Albuquerque area, or do you expand outside of that?
We try to stay within an hour of Albuquerque.
Oh, really?
So we hire family people, and we want for them to be able to sleep in their own bed at night.
Oh, that's
so we try to stay within an hour. We stretch out there further because our customer asks us to.
Right.
But that's our focus area, is 1 hour, within 1 hour of Albuquerque.
So did you work in business before you took this on? And if so, what were some of the things that you learned along the way since now owning a business?
Well, that's
probably a question for
how much time
Yeah.
we have. I paid my way through college working at a plumbing company.
Oh boy.
Then I got a bright idea to get married.
Yeah.
And I'm still married, so I guess it was a good idea. And so I stayed in. I had a job, and I just stayed in the plumbing industry, and really started at a pretty young age. So I was 22 when I started TLC, and so I was pretty green. I actually didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I took care of the customer, and they called me back. So
I was going to say, you said you were around 30-something years. You look old enough that you would have been a teenager, even younger than that.
I consistently joke that TLC raised me. I was fortunate to come here at 18. And
I was going to say,
since, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you hired him, so tell us that story. It must have been you saw in him some of those qualities of what you're looking for. I noticed on some of your either your website or on the origin of the story, there's some posters in the back. What are the 4 key criteria? Compassion.
So there's 5 of them.
Or 5.
So
okay.
it's honesty.
They let me teach classes.
Yeah.
I can't count. Oh, sorry.
Everything we do is probably 5, but there's honesty, there's hard work, respect, compassion, and consistency.
Right.
So those are the key core values that we run the company.
That's great.
by.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
we were lucky because we knew Oni from church camp.
Yeah.
So we knew his values, and
Already.
so when he needed a job, we were happy to give him a job. And
Well, I know some people will hire somebody that's like a great waiter and they go, oh my God, how can I get you on my team because of the quality of their service?
We
can
do
see
that.
Yeah.
We do
You'll
that
meet
a lot.
somebody like that.
Home Depot, Lowe's, and we find some good people.
Word of mouth is typically our best recruiter.
Yeah.
So and that's the other thing. A lot of students I've run into think that the best thing to do to market themselves is social media. Everything's on Facebook. I'm thinking, well, not me. I'm not on Twitter or any of those. But
Can you shovel on Facebook?
yeah. But for you guys, what's the best way that you get the word out about your company? And is it through word of mouth?
It's our coworkers that bring them in.
So it's both sides. One is getting staff, but also marketing your products. I notice you have billboards.
We do some billboards.
All the things. I mean, I would be lying to you if I told you we weren't on social media.
Right.
I mean, every platform these days you almost have to be.
Right.
But really, our retention, I would tell you, comes from that word of mouth of most of our new hires that turn into tenure is those who are recommended by a family member or someone saw them working at a Jiffy Lube and liked their attitude and their work ethic and said, man, you belong here.
Right.
And that's exactly how I ended up where I'm at.
So I'd be curious, one of the things that I worked at West and we were helping a lot of businesses get started. The real interest was how do we get somebody to grow? It's not just the startup. Startup's a business plan, getting some funding and then get the reality check of realizing, like a lot of my students want to start a coffee bar or a actual bar. I'm like, well, you like going to the bar, but running the bar is still a little different because running a business is different than working in the business. So I'd be curious, what would you say are some tips you might give to somebody that's trying to grow their business once you've been in place for a while? What are some of those things to take it to the next level?
I don't want to steal Dale's story, but really it's investing in the people. For sure, when I first started with TLC, I may not have seen that or that came to my attention right away, but early on in my career, I saw the amount of not only resources, but time, energy, and effort that Dale was willing to put into young men's life or young people's life, and even some who were later on in life. It's really that constant investment in people, and you reap what you sow. You get that return on investment when people are happy. Like Dale said, they're going home every night and they're sleeping in their own bed. You don't keep them on the road all day long, all night long, away from their family, and that's a huge deal. And for sure, as a result of the partnership with new people and the brand, you put the right person in the right seat, they'll take you to places.
Well, it's interesting. Some owners I've met over the years will say they never thought about it till later. They're at a company picnic and they realize everybody in that park is dependent on the decisions they make. So how do you make great decisions? What's that process?
I'm not afraid to make a decision, and I make some really bad ones, but I've been lucky that I've been able to make more good ones than bad ones.
Right.
So, but I make them all with good intent. So you just got to be consistent in that. And there, as it relates to growing the business, it's probably the biggest thing is just do what you say. Just honor your word and then associate with good people. But when we hire people, we don't want to give them a job. We want to introduce them into a career.
Right.
And they see that and they can live that. And it was nice to hear Oni saying, when he started his career at TLC, he didn't start a job. It may have been a job when he started, but it turned into a career. And that opportunity is there for people. And that's fun. That's very rewarding.
Would that be a great job if you're in college?
It was good for me.
Yeah.
I think it starts that way for everyone. The misconception with the trade is it's a go-between. That'll pay the bills for me for a while. Early on, you start to see the investment and the future that career holds. And like I said, it was definitely a job when I started, but within a year's time, I could do this for the rest of my life and provide for my family further than I ever thought I would be capable of.
So it was interesting when I read again about all the different areas you folks are in business in. It's not just plumbing, but it's heating, air conditioning. There's that whole range, refrigeration. Where do you see the growth? Is it solar? I mean, it seems like everybody's focusing on green jobs, but is that going to be the next thing for TLC, or is it a lot of what you're doing now? Or is there new products or new services out there?
So they're always changing the mechanical side, the products. They're consistently changing that, and all that equipment wears out. So our customers, it's not you do one job and you never come back. We got to take care of them for life.
Right.
So and the products are always adapting to the newer technologies and all that. The green energy impacts us on the electrical side. The active solar, we have not had good luck with that, and so but that could change. I'm not, we don't know what's right around the corner, but the green energy will integrate fine with our business.
So we haven't talked about that, but a lot of what I've worked with in different jobs I've had, because I've always been in marketing, we had a software system that would keep track of our customers. So it's a customer CRM, or customer relationship management. So having seen some of the work you've done, heard about what you do, I think you guys are innately paying attention to each customer's needs. But I know for me, about 5 things in, I'm losing track. So I need a system. Do you have a system for keeping track of your customers?
Yep.
And then
absolutely
what their needs are, what products you put in, and then what the next stage is.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of information. It gives us an advantage to create efficiency. When we show up, we're a little better prepared because we have some background information. We actually wrote our own program for that.
Oh, you're kidding. You have a proprietary software for
and we're actually taking it to market because a lot of
you
people...
could sell that.
Yeah, and that'll be good for New Mexico because it'll actually bring revenue from outside the state into the state. So
that's right. Yeah, core economic.
Everybody will see it come out as Service Point Pro. So
really,
yeah.
Well, this is exciting.
It'll be good.
So, how much of what you do is really understanding technology, since technology seems to be changing everything? I know my brother is an auto mechanic, and it's always the black box now. So, is there still a lot of the aspects of your business, still the physical aspects of having a wrench and making things work? Or is there a lot of it's being digitized now? Where's all that heading?
It's a mix.
That's you, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say in the plumbing industry, that curve is probably a little slower than you see in the electrical and HVAC industry, merely because you still need pipe to move water, and you still need someone to dig a hole, whether that's on the end of a shovel or running a piece of equipment. They haven't created a robot to do that for us, thank goodness. On the HVAC side and the electrical, as Dale mentioned, that world evolves monthly, yearly, whether that's energy code or I use the cell phone, for example. Look how far that's come. We're seeing wireless thermostats and controls and modules, and everything is becoming smarter. And so, yes, you still have the physical demand of the day-to-day. You're in attics and crawl spaces and just unpleasant areas, but that technology, you have to stay up to date on it.
So I didn't talk to too many people about this in these interviews, but I'd be curious because a big part of when people start up, they need financing to get started. So there's incubators here, there's loan programs, micro lenders, etc. I assume you have a banking relationship, and kind of how does that work in terms of your financing to keep the business going? You have to have probably some kind of funding that's coming in on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you need, for me, what I have found in business, you need 3 things. You need capital,
right?
You need people, and you need systems. And so we have worked the entire 33 years refining all of those. And so capital, which has actually been good, capital has been the limiting factor on growth, but that allowed us to grow as we earned it. So it's been kind of interesting, but yeah, we have a relationship with a normal bank, a community bank that supports us in whatever we do. In fact, they called me last week and asked me if I would be interested in opening a new one up in Dallas. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good relationship when the bank calls you and wants you to move to it because they moved to that city and they said, hey, if you need capital, we'd like to help you move to Dallas. So it is important. The banking relationship is important, and being responsible as you go, very important.
I'm not sure which book it was. It was like Guy Kawasaki talked about there were like 5 people you need to own and start a business. Would be a lawyer, accountant, etc. And so that's interesting. So how much do you rely on outside services to get some of the business done?
Not a lot. I mean, we have.
You're big enough now. You could bring a lot of that in-house.
Yeah, we have an internal CPA. We don't have an internal lawyer. And I'm lucky. In 33 years, I have never had to go to court. So I've had people that challenge things, but if you revolve right back to what I said, you do the right thing for the right reason, everything works out pretty good. So
this is probably a question for both of you, but maybe more Oni. I was involved with Quality New Mexico. I did examinations of companies. It was a great experience. If anybody hasn't done that, I definitely highly recommend it, because these companies will give you a 50-page, here's what we're doing, kind of the plan, do, check, act thing. But it was all about creating systems, ultimately, or process. You looked at that. And so I'd be curious, given that your focus is on adding value, what systems do you think are really making what you have work to make sure you maintain that high quality?
Well, every business has its warts, wrinkles, and flaws. We're not perfect. We strive to be. But really, we've had many systems just in the time I've been there. But the consistent, I would tell you, is finding good quality people. They will trump a system every day. If you give them the latitude to make the right decision for the right reason, 99% of the time it works out. Apply some common sense, which in today's world may not be so common, but finding the right people who can make those decisions and are mindful of all those other folks, not only in the community, but our customers and the mouths at home waiting for you to come home with that paycheck, taking all that into account before you make that decision.
Is your business unique to Albuquerque? Because it's funny, when I lived in LA, Orange County, you'd have weathermen that were mostly comedians, because there wasn't much change in the weather. We'd always laugh about it. Who's that guy? Well, it was a comedian. Well, here we actually have weather, which I would assume then is a good place to have some of the aspects of what you guys do.
Yeah, unique Albuquerque market, or really New Mexico market, is our swamp cooler market for sure. That is very driven by the weather, whether that is precipitation and you have that high humidity, as most of you that have swamp coolers know, they don't work very well when the rains come.
Right.
And so we have, talking about systems, we have changed our dynamic on how we approach the spring and fall seasons around that market, so that we can better serve the community. Because inevitably, if one of the newscasters says it's going to be 85 degrees this weekend, everyone calls at the same time. And although we are pretty large in size, we can't always accommodate that mass spike. And so we really try to do things with our CRM, our software, to contact those customers prior to say, hey, we're not the weatherman, but this happens every year, and let's try to get in front of it.
Well, yeah, and I didn't mean to denigrate all of our meteorologists here. It was just over there, okay? But because I think our meteorologists here really do focus on weather, because we do have weather. Whether we call it 2 seasons or 4, I mean, we still have changes which would apply to what you guys are basically helping repair and fix.
Yeah, and
plus new construction,
And our business follows the weather. It's actually pretty incredible how it just tracks with the weather. The calls were right there with the weather, and we have. I feel that we have the true 4 seasons here, but the other thing that we do, going back to your question, we do internal surveys. We have participated in Quality New Mexico, so we learn through that process. But we do. We measure how many of our customers are repeat customers. We measure all kinds of things. I think people get tired of measuring things, but it allows us to keep our pulse on, are we supporting our people right? Because that's our default, is supporting our people, and we have to have the metrics in place to support our people.
So do you survey your customers per transaction or more on an annual basis? How does that work?
So we do some random surveys for, just customer feedback.
Right.
But we track how often they use this, so a frequency, and so whether it's a repeat customer or a new customer. So just a lot of different metrics out there.
I assume we're getting near the end of our time, but I'd be curious with you folks, if you were to give advice to somebody about running a business, what might be 3 or 4 things you'd say that makes you successful? And then I'd love to hear about what your plans are for the future, Dallas or wherever. But we don't want you to leave. You can't leave.
No, I'm not leaving.
What advice would you give somebody in terms of, we've got all these small businesses here, how do you take it to the next place?
Man, our philosophy of keep it simple. Take care of people and do the right thing for the right reasons. That goes a long way. You're not going to get anywhere by luck. It takes hard work and some perseverance. You asked Dale, there was some hard times. It's being fortunate enough and surround yourself with the right people to help pull you through those difficult times, and hopefully you get to see the other side of that.
Right. Dale, what's the word?
So for me, I mean, it really is those the 3-legged stool, right? And you take one leg off, 3-legged stool is falling over, and so the capital side. So you'd be very responsible with your capital and make sure that you deploy your capital back into the company. That's what I have always done, and then the people, focus on their success. Not trying to ride on their backs, but how can you hold them up, support them, and remove barriers from them, and then the system side. Know where your numbers are, track things, and understand things. So those are the areas that I have focused on for. Since
we talk a lot about at the university about KPIs, key performance indicators, and so if you can get it down to some kind of a dashboard and say, here's the. Mm-hmm. I know in some of the companies I worked at, we had like 100-page reports. It's like, if you can get it down to 4 or 5 key numbers that tell the story, and I'm sure you have some aspect of that to say, okay, are we making money? Is our quality where it needs to be? What's our costs? Within certain ratios.
Not only the KPIs, but which ones can you impact to make the change to the bottom line?
Oh, there's that, yeah. Because
it's
some
not
of
just tracking them. It's which pedal or which lever do I pull to make happen what I need to happen.
Right. So so anything about where you guys are going to be going in the future? What's your vision? Dallas, you said.
So we're interested in expanding, and we're also getting enough people where they don't have kids at home that we're looking at putting into some other markets. But I mean, I am native New Mexico, born and raised here, and so this is where my heart is, and but if we run out of room to grow, then we're okay expanding into other markets. I think we could do just fine and take the same values we do here and see if they work over there. So I don't know that it's Dallas, but
I know.
Might be somewhere.
I'm teasing you. Well, a lot of companies I've worked with over the years, I used to work at corporate Transamerica. We would buy companies, so there was mergers and acquisition things going on. But my sense of it is that because you have such a strong value proposition, that you'd want to, that'd be interesting to make that leap and say, well, these guys match up or with what we're doing? Yes or no? And then you'd have to train them to come on board because everybody's got to have that TLC value that
Very
you guys
important.
bring to the table.
It's a challenge. I will tell you that's what is working against some of our competitors or in the market is we've seen transplants come here, and unfortunately, if you don't have those right core people, it falls apart, whether that's in 6 months or a year or 3 years down the road.
Well, they probably get focused on quantity, not quality. What's the bottom line? Are we making money or not? And what's driving your money is the value added you're bringing and the relationships you've created over these years.
For sure.
Because people keep coming back, right?
Yep. Thankful, for the community. They support us, hands down. They keep us coming back for more.
So thinking of the community, I'd be curious, are there any organizations you've been involved with here that have been a real plus in terms of growing your business? And people don't realize we have about 350 groups here. We've got 16 chambers of commerce in Albuquerque, SBDC, SCORE, there's a lot of entities here that are here to support small business. I've always told every governor I've ever met we should rename the state, instead of the state of enchantment, the state of entrepreneurship. We're almost all small business, so, and we're supporting that. So curious if there's any groups you'd recommend people to go to help support what you've been doing for them to tap into.
Yeah, so we've gotten involved in Albuquerque Economic Development, and we've gotten involved in the chamber, a couple of chambers, and but what we really have gotten in touch with our community with was by supporting our local programs. You know, so the Lobos and the Isotopes and
Go Lobos.
and United. It's getting involved in that. It gives a sense of pride for our employees that is pretty remarkable, because they like to be associated with a company that is helping to support the community. So,
Well, you said that
it's
earlier
good.
before we started. A lot of companies have a program where they're going to collect money and give it to some organization, but it sounds like you make that more organic
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
grassroots, maybe. Is a better
Yeah.
way.
And it's multifaceted. Not only do you have the big universities or Isotopes and United, things like that. I think something that speaks heavily to the community and our employee group is the investment in Pee Wee football, and you got parents coaching, and they got TLC on there, and we bring all of those kids in and tell them about our core values and what it means to wear those
Right.
3 letters on their chest, and we really try to involve as many as we can, and it makes a
Well, I'm sure
major
that's a
ripple.
circle. It comes back
Absolutely.
Sure it
on
does.
various different levels. So I have an award for you today. It's the ABQ's Most Iconic Business. We're TLC Plumbing and Heating.
Wow.
Any put you on the microphone. Thank mom and dad.
Yeah. No, thanks to all my coworkers at TLC is what it comes down to.
And we want to thank Moji Cinema for putting this all together today.
Moji has been
Tremendous.
their brainchild, and I think that more and more people need to recognize who's making it happen in the community and in the metro area and in the Albuquerque area.
Well, I love talking to folks. We always get this story. We're at the bottom of whatever list. You guys are at the top of the list, and that's great to hear from that we are all winners here. Let's start telling
Yeah,
that story
yeah,
over
for
and
sure.
over and over. So any last words you'd have for people starting businesses or the business community you'd like to say?
No, just
Leave it up to you, Dale.
Yeah, just
Take us out.
stand on your values and make sure your coworkers can go home every single day with their integrity intact.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you, Emoji. Thank you so much.